standoff. I can feel it. Creatures coming together, declaring for the land. Only separated by a mere wire fence. What will be the outcome?
Hello friends, and welcome to another episode of the Urban Homesteading channel with Professor DIY, Mrs. DIY and Elpida. Today we're going to work in making a doorway and hopefully a door. Try to do two things at once to enclose this area so our dog can be on the deck without us worrying about running away. Even though this is an enclosed space, if it is raining they bring all the mud in the world back in the house, right? So we want them to enjoy the outside without worrying about it. And also down the road we plan to turn this into a 3-season porch. So it would be nice to have a door, because if you screen it without a door you don't do anything, right? So stick around, we'll try to show you everything you need to know about how to do this project. So a few days ago we showed you how to frame this door and how to build this door, right?
Yep.
And today we're going to do the final touches, which will depend of course on your specific situation. So for us, we're going to strengthen the door, and you can do that before you hang the door, but my idea was to do it afterwards, so if the door didn't hang well, we have something to adjust, right?
Right.
But our door hangs very well, it stays wherever we put it, it doesn't move at all.
It's got a very nice balance to it.
So we are comfortable doing that. Now, we created recesses again for our screws because we don't want them visible. And we use the two clamps here to ensure that they are flush to the front and back.
Right.
Because usually as you try to put screws, sometimes they move.
And these are at a what angle?
45.
45.
And make sure, like I just did, that they are tight. It wasn't.
Yeah. Want to make sure that it's tight to
Right.
the board it's adjacent to.
I mean, there's a good chance that the screw will bring it in, but do you want to depend on that? And the next step will be, of course, when using a driver or even a drill to drive a screw, make sure that you keep a very constant pressure and you use the correct drill. As you can see here, an extension might be necessary if you are recessing the screw. And speaking of that, we put seams on the bottom because we don't want to put stress on the, we don't want to put stress on the hinges,
Right.
because I have to push hard for the
We are
screws to go
pushing a
in.
bit, and it's obviously above the level of the deck so that it swings. So we filled that gap with some shims.
So when you finish, make sure to remove the seam so your door will jump.
It'll jam.
Yeah.
It'll swing.
It will jump. It will not swing.
Or
If
it
you
will
forget
jam
them,
if you forget them.
That's
It
what I
will
said.
jam.
remember to remove them or your door will jump. So you're going to put one on each corner to provide rigidity for the door.
I like rigidity.
Technically you don't need one on each corner, you need one here and one there, but it will not look right? So 4, and here we have a visitor. Nope, you're not going to do that. Alright? So our top brace, as you see, is exactly the same as the bottom. They are the same size and we install them the same way. And then we're going to move in the installation of the rails. And we're going to talk a little bit about the rails. Now with the top of the door finished, we are going to move at the bottom, and we want it to match our existing deck. So we're going to put this kind of stiles that they are in the remaining of the deck. And here we've cut them and put pocket screws. And while pocket screws might look very similar to what we did here, they're actually different, right?
Yep.
And part of the difference is that this is a cross grain and pocket screws go with the grain, which means you have to use pocket screws. Because if you use this screw that we used before, it will just separate the grain and go through.
Yeah.
It will have no holding power. The pocket screw has a little ledge that prevents that from happening.
Right.
Okay, is that clear?
Yeah, it has it's almost like a nut or a washer that
Right.
holds it.
Where
in
this
place.
is like conical and it is designed to separate. It's designed to be beyond the surface, and we don't want that, right?
Right.
So even though they look very similar, of course you can do whatever you want in your project, but my recommendation is to use the correct screws for the correct application. So we're using the same process for the stiles. We're going to use the clamps to ensure that the stiles don't move as we apply the screws, because as we apply pressure they will have a tendency to get misaligned. And also we're using a square. We didn't use a square before, but we're using a square here to make sure that both the bottom and the top are a line and they're square, right?
Yep.
So sometimes a little persuasion might be necessary, but make sure that you are not too tight because you can actually take the door out of square, right? And you do not want that. Again, double check that you are square, and then you're ready to move on.
Yep.
So here we are, and as you can see now, we have matching, what you will call that?
Styles.
Yeah, the eye follows you along, right? And makes it go well. The door is still balanced. As you can see, it stays wherever we put it.
Yep.
And we have designed it to open all the way, so when we have it open, it doesn't take any space. So the next step will be to fill the pocket holes
Right.
and to fill the recesses. Now there are two reasons for that. Number one is Mrs. DIY don't like to see holes, right? But there is a more important reason, believe it or not, and that is weather. This is going to receive some weather, not a lot of weather, it's undercover, but if water gets into this hole, it's going to start rotting the wood, right?
Right.
So we don't, and the same with those. These will be hard for water to get in, but the bottom ones are just on the right angle, right?
Yep.
So to protect your build, you use a little dowel and a dab of glue, and then a fresh cut, a flash cut saw, and that's all you have to do.
Right, so as you can see on these braces that we put in to give more stability to the frame, we went ahead and put in some dowels in the pocket screw holes. on
Well, those
both
were not pocket
sides.
screws, they were just screws.
Well, they were holes that we
Right.
made to put the screws down in. And then down here, these were actually pocket holes.
And they're almost impossible to see even before the paint jobs.
Right.
And again, these are for both appearance and to protect from rain getting in and rotting the wood, right?
Right.
But this is now the completing door, right?
Completing door. Yep.
The completing door, yes. And of course, you can finish it any way you want to match your decor. One of the big advantages of DIY, right?
Yep.
We made this to match the rest of our deck, and when we paint it, it will really look like it was always here. It will not look like an addition, which is part of what you want to do, right?
Right.
Now, this was fairly inexpensive. I don't remember the exact cost, but for the door, it is what, a couple of 2x4s and one 2x6.
Yeah, we had one 2x6, two 2x4s, and then we had a 2x3 piece that we
We haven't used though.
ripped for the styles.
Oh, for the style, you're right.
Yeah.
So we're doing about $50 of material. You could not buy it, especially a bizarre size like this, right?
Right.
And that's the other advantage. So we do not think you could actually buy a door for this cost, and definitely you could not have one custom made, even close to the amount of money of the material, right?
Right.
So we are very, very happy with the outcome, and even with everything, the door is still perfectly balanced, right?
Yep.
It will stay where you put it,
Yep.
and it feels nice and light, even though it is not extremely light. I mean, you know, it's a pretty large door. I don't know the exact dimensions, but it is a pretty large door, right?
Yeah.
And of course, the next step will be to paint it, and then to put the, what do you call the thing we're going to put all around?
Screen.
The screen on the door, and of course the rest of the deck. And actually, this deck is coming across. As you remember, we put the roof over it,
Right.
and now we created this gate that will protect this creature from running away, which he doesn't do, but you know, will contain him on the deck.
Well, yeah, you know, we'll be able to keep him from going into the yard, but still being outside if he wants to be.
Now the next step will be to put a stop for the door, which is it's going to be probably a 1x1 piece, so it will prevent
Yep.
the door from going too much out. Even though it doesn't seem to have a problem with that because it is so balanced.
Right.
When we close it, it stays where it's supposed to. Well, friends, this concludes our episode and a half. We did most of it on our weekend episode, right? And today on the Wednesday Quickies, we finished the door to make it match exactly our deck. We hope you enjoyed this episode and give you both ideas and processes, tools, thoughts on how to do it yourself. If you did, we'll appreciate a thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the other button twice. Share, like, subscribe. Let us know if these are the type of video that you would like to watch in our channel, or what type of video you would like to watch today and in the near future. From Professor DIY and Mrs. DIY, let's build something together.